Hello and welcome, Champions of the Realm, to your OB35 Paladins patch notes. My name is hi-rez Pretty Hair. Today we have some bright new shining faces on the set with me today. Will be Mr. hi-rez Kret, Miss hi-rez Alyssa, and hi-rez Drybear. So Kret, this is your first time with us today. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about what you do here?
Hey, so I'm Kret. You might know me from Discord or Twitter. I'm the associate designer, so one of Rory's minions, and did a fair amount of work on Maldamba. Doing a lot of work on cards and stuff too, and I also talk to a lot of the community members, especially esports guys, get feedback. So I'm a great resource if you've got a lot of opinions about the game. We can talk about them.
Brent loves opinions.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I went to school for opinions, actually. Studied them. Yeah, it's great.
And Miss Alyssa, what do you do here for us on the Paladin side?
I'm a community manager for Paladins, so I handle all the social media. Anyone involved with the community is probably pretty familiar.
Awesome. And everybody knows what Mr. Drybear does for us.
Nothing.
Absolutely freaking
Absolutely nothing. Not a thing.
So the first thing on our docket today, we'll get right into it, is going to be some more skins coming into the game. First and foremost will be Skye. Got some new common skins this patch right now, and those are on your screen right now. So we have the teal, the yellow there, and the red. So these are kind of just helping us to flesh out that new head system and skin. So these will all be available to be switched between.
Yeah, that's right. So really just kind of getting more colors in there. Since we have the heads and body weapon system, we want to have more customization options. So obviously if you really like the red hair with the purple body with a different combination there, we want to have more options available.
Awesome. And this is going to be retroactive with her old skins as well. These will be added into that head system. So these will also be available for you to choose and customize. The whole sort of philosophy of Paladins is kind of play the way you want. So if you like a certain head with a certain weapon and a certain body, you can do that with all of Skye's skins.
Yeah, we're in the process of getting all the characters split out. For those of you out here waiting for a specific character to have a head option, it takes some work to get that working, but we have a nice pipeline that gets those all out pretty quickly. Skye is joining us this patch to have her head broken out as a separate piece, and then we're making the old skins as well as the new skins work with that system.
Sure, awesome. So the next person get some love this patch will be Miss Ying, our newest champion, coming into the most recent patch there. So you can see her recolors on skin now. That is the base skin there on the left, and then the dark blue. We got the new purple and that little orange headed there. So what's everyone's favorite? What would you play with, Kret? I know you like to go for those ugly combos.
I have in the past. For Ying, I don't know. I've liked the blue skin. I like the Snapdragon, the red one that we've already had, but I think orange brings something new. I think it's a good color for it. Really brings out her eyes. So I'm gonna be looking for that. As for Skye, I like the haircut skin, the one with a slightly different haircut, a little bit more choppy. Maybe with the red body.
Awesome. What about you, Alyssa? Which one are you gonna rock?
For Skye, definitely the canary yellow. I think it just goes really well with her whole outfit and hair. And then for Ying, probably still the Snapdragon is my favorite, or the purple. I like the new purple.
Drybear, any strong opinions on that? Fashionista?
Snapdragon.
Snapdragon for life.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so with our most recent launch into open beta, we got a lot of new players, and we want to kind of settle them into the game, you know, make a seamless transition, as Paladins isn't the most traditional shooter out there. So we did get a new tutorial in that will be in this patch.
That's right. We've worked really hard on this tutorial to get people acclimated to Paladins. It is basically focused on having players know how to move around, shoot, use their abilities. So it's really covering the fundamentals of the game. But it's just a goal to onboard all of our players, make sure that everyone can just jump right in and start having a good time as their favorite champion. So you'll be seeing Victor in the tutorial coming in OB35.
Awesome. Okay, so with that, we did get a new Payload game mode put back into the game with the last patch, and we've actually had some feedback, some time to kind of adjust to that, and we've got some changes coming in. So the defenders will now have more time to reach their defensive positions in the pre-game. So that's our pre-game countdown.
Yeah, so it's more time for both teams too, but you know, one thing that was a little bit difficult is a lot of times the defenders would have a hard time getting to the other side of the map before it began, so they could set up, plan what they're going to do, see which gate they're coming out of, set up defenses if you're barrack, that kind of thing. So we extended the amount of time by 20 seconds for both teams. The attacking team will obviously be locked in their base for the whole duration, and the defending team will be let out early so they can get over there. Now, obviously, this is something a little less known. In Siege and as well as Payload, the respawn time is different per team, depending on how far you have to go, right? So our way to use the mounts is to kind of create a pseudo forward spawn, right?
Sure.
So in Siege and in Payload, if you're on attack and you're going the furthest way away, a lot of times you will spawn faster with, in combination, the mount is almost like you're forward spawning for that team.
Right.
So hopefully in combination with that, the Payload feels a lot more fluid.
Awesome. So another thing specifically to the Payload, but not just to the Payload game mode that we've changed, is a little bit of improvement on the collision and lag compensation. Can you talk a little bit about this feature? Because it's actually been one of the most requested features to be changed.
Yeah, we've been working on this and thinking about this for a long time. It was a fairly difficult technical hurdle, but we've got some great programmers using their big brains to figure out how we can address this and make it a little bit better. So in the past, if you're playing on ping, maybe you're a North American player playing with some friends in Europe or, you know, God forbid, even further away, you could potentially start to have some issues where you get near the payload, it jolts you a little bit, then you move and the server says, oh, you're not there, so it's going to move you, and it feels a little weird. We've made some changes to make that a little bit more smooth, and that should improve the feel. It's not going to be a perfect system. Playing on ping is inherently imperfect, but we're working very hard to make this better. And we think this is a big step to just make the payload cart feel a lot better for players that are on lower and higher ping.
Yeah, so we've had players kind of from all over the world, coming from all different sorts of pings. So this is definitely going to be something to look out for, a big improvement there. So then another thing coming in that's also really big is going to be custom matches. So previously, the custom matches, you had to run in with a full player of 5. You had to kind of play that 5v5. We've added a little bit more customization to that, where you can actually go and make your own lobby and run through some of the settings. You can set it between 1v1, 2v2, and so on. You can pick the map, all that sort of stuff, and we should actually have that to be brought up in game. So can we talk a little bit about how this is going to help maybe players that want to get their own kind of like in-house scrims, that sort of thing going?
Yeah, it's really great for streamers too, and you know it's something we've wanted to do for a long time. So you'll see that the settings here on screen. You create a custom match. This doesn't require you to be in party anymore. Challenge match was our quick solution early on in the closed beta to make sure you had a way to create your own custom match. But if you're playing as a streamer, and you want to have streamers come in or subscribers come in, or you're playing with friends, or you want to do something wacky or fun, or really specifically for competitive matches, you want to specify the map, you want to specify who's on what team and what order they're in. This allows you to do so. So you can set a name, you can set a region, you can set whether spectators can watch it or not, whether it's draft mode, what the team size is, and also what map you want there. So you select it, you hop into the lobby, and the best part about it too is that we want to do this, but you put it in and it actually change teams dynamically. So you'll be able to click on one team or the other, and it'll swap you as you're going, and then the match owner, the person who owns the custom match, can click start, and it'll just launch it up for you.
Yeah, this is definitely something personally I'm looking forward to because I've been streaming a lot. I like to get these 5v5 viewer games going, and this was just a pain in the butt before. We would have had to get in chat, like we would have to elect team captains in chat, get them to throw their teams together, join at the same time, set the password, all sorts of things like that. And then another thing was it was really tough to balance because we'd get Stolzy just come in our game just randomly and just throw a wrench in the whole thing. So now we'll be able to kind of just juggle the players around, juggle the talent, make sure that everyone's kind of good to go there.
Now, unfortunately, we haven't been able to nerf Stolzy. Haven't been able to track him down.
I have a plan. I have a really good plan for that.
He's got a plan.
Yep.
Might be coming this patch.
It'll only affect Stolzy though. Only.
Okay, great. So we can't help you with that specific problem, but you should be able to make custom matches a little bit better. And another thing that the competitive players have been asking for is a way to play the maps just with like their teammates, like 2 players, 4 players. You can do 1v1, 2v2. Just go around the map, find places maybe you want to hold up for cover where your Joe guys can sit and wait or whatever. And you can look around the maps too if you're a competitive player.
And another thing you definitely mentioned is this is a step towards getting our tournaments to be played on that competitive, that ranked standard. So we'll have that draft picking mode for players available too. So the next thing on the docket is going to be the big release of our new champion. We are currently getting that loaded up on screen right now for you. He's going to be coming in really soon. It's been a while since we put out a champion. How long has it been since McCullough?
I know exactly the amount of days, and I don't want to say. It's been long enough. It's been too long, I should
This guy's
say.
been a long,
Well,
a
yeah,
long
so,
time coming.
Just kind of a little background there. Obviously, you know, when we started doing the parts and pieces system, a lot
Sure.
of the kind of the art team is working really hard to go back and get all the characters built for that. And as we work on new champions and get that content built out, we really spent a lot of time making sure that works well. But you'll see him here. This is our newest champion to join the realm. His name is Maldamba. And that is with an apostrophe. So he is kind of a voodoo priest, witch doctor, something that, you know, we spent a lot of time and say a lot of kudos to the art team, the animators, the riggers, the effects artists. Like, the artists really came together on this one. And, you know, originally we started with this idea that, you know, this guy's a voodoo priest. He has dark magics.
Sure.
He kind of brings that in. He is a support, but his main weapon is a living, breathing, spitting cobra.
See it there, flickering that tongue.
It just wiggles around, it moves, it's very animated, it'll like wrap around his arm and all that. So we really wanted to bring this to life and just bring something new that people haven't seen before.
Yeah, and so we're going to see on screen here some of his recolors there. So he will be also included in this new kind of head system. You'll be able to switch between all of these heads. You see the weapons there. Those snakes look really, really good there in all of those different colors there. So we'll see Maldamba here riding around on his horse right there.
The icons aren't done, he doesn't shoot a chicken.
Yeah, no, we've already done
Those
that
are all
one
temp
once,
icons.
He does not shoot a chicken.
So
So
wait a
let's
few
go
months
ahead.
before you have someone else who shoots a chicken.
So why don't we go ahead and fire this? Ooh, so yeah.
Yeah, it is a spitting cobra, so it's going to spit a projectile that falls. And we're going to actually get some bots in here so that we can play around and see a little bit more about what these abilities do.
So he's spitting cobra there. It looks like, so it is projectile based. It looks almost like a Makoa cannonball there with, will it have any damage fall off?
It does not have damage fall off right now, so it's a pure projectile. It will fall. Now, as a support, he's meant to be in different areas of the fight, so I want to make sure that he isn't forced to get really close, because he is a little bit squishier than most of the characters in the game, so make sure that he has that opportunity to use that. But he's using that kind of projectile, so it'll hit directly, do some direct damage there. But you know, it's a pretty straightforward weapon, but obviously since we had a snake, we want to do something unique. So he does something very special when he reloads.
Yeah, how do you reload a snake?
Oh, wow. So he just tosses the cobra out there. What does that?
Throw it.
Yeah, he tosses it. It deals direct damage, and then it also stuns the enemy.
Wow. Okay. So will you be able to? So it almost incentivizes running around with maybe 9 ammo, just so you have that available to you, or can you reload with full ammo?
You cannot reload with full ammo.
Okay.
You need to spend a little bit. It's a fairly long reload.
Yeah.
So if
actually
you're
the
just
longest
trying
reload
to,
in the game.
That's right. If you're just trying to
makes sense.
stun people over and over,
You're
they're
punished
gonna
for
have
that.
time to shoot you. Yeah.
sure.
Now maybe if you have a team, you can find a clutch stun and lock someone down so your teammates can kill him, and that totally works. I've gotten some great kills on Makoa in playtests. But it's not something that's great for him just in a 1v1.
It's really hard to hit too, so it does have the projectile drop just like his normal shot. It moves pretty slowly, and it's not a very large projectile either. So a lot of times in combat, trying to hit someone with that snake, you see it, you know, with the
does have
drop,
drop.
how far it goes, how much friction hits in the air. All those were intentionally made, so it's very difficult to hit with. However, if you do happen to get the stun, it's a very good thing for your teammate to follow up on. You can interrupt
Definitely.
someone during an ultimate or get a really good play, but hitting it consistently is not an easy task.
Okay, so for his alternate fire, what could be the alternate fire there for a snake?
For the right mouse button, he actually, the snake shoots a spirit vessel out. And if the spirit hits an ally, then it heals them.
Okay, so this looks like it's more of a ticking style single target heal?
That's right. So Maldamba is fulfilling a support role.
Right.
And this is a single target heal with a relatively short duration and an even shorter cooldown. So you can spot heal your teammates. If you got a tank in the front line, you can throw some heals on him. Or if there's someone moving around that's low on health in the back, you can heal them too. You can actually stack this up on a single target.
Yeah, I was going to say the duration looks like it lasts a little bit longer than the cooldown there.
It's a little bit longer. You can't really get more than 2 of them going simultaneously, but you can stack it up like twice on a tank to really get some healing rolling. And if you've got a Fernando in the front line that's taking a lot of damage, this can really help you keep them up and have them fighting for even longer.
It's also his scan shot, so it'll fire instantly.
Okay.
And one of the cool parts about this is he's actually the only support in the game that can heal a Drogoz when he's up in the sky, right? So anytime someone's flying over, they're in a really bad spot, or you see a Kinessa far across the map and a perch getting flanked by a Skye, you can hit this shot. Now, it is a skill shot, so you can miss. So if you don't hit the teammate, you don't get that heal over time effect. It is a relatively short cooldown, so you can try again. But the big part about this is the skill-based heal that can hit almost anyone in vision. So if someone's in trouble really far away or above you, you can keep them alive.
That's right. Now, as he said, it is a skill shot. Just to preview one of our cards, there's a card where if you miss, it refunds some of the cooldown. So if you're a really good player, you might not want this card because you're hitting all of your heals. But if you're having a little bit more trouble, you can make it a little bit easier for yourself and try and go for those really risky heals and not be punished as much.
That's really cool. So he can kind of stay safe, healing his teammates from long range, because Driver did mention this is hit scan. It does not really have a range, and you just need to be on top of them. You don't need to worry about projectile drop or any of that sort of stuff that the rest of his kit has. So we'll move along to his Q ability here. What does this do, Alyssa?
So Maldamba throws a projectile gourd, and it's basically an AoE effect. It heals allies, and it also damages enemies if they're within the AoE.
Okay, so this is kind of like that area denial control with a little bit of a support element kind of twisted in there.
Yeah, it's really great in combination with his right click in the Q. We want to make sure that we had kind of a different style support, so he can throw it on the point, heal up. The Spirit by itself doesn't heal a crazy amount, and the AoE by itself doesn't heal a crazy amount, but put them together, you can keep a lot of people alive in an area. But also, because of the damage ticking in, it kind of gets people off the point while keeping your Frando or your Barrack or your Ruckus on the point. So it's a nice conjunction there. It actually does bounce off walls pretty effectively too, so you can bounce around corners, you can get people stuck. We went through a lot of iterations with this ability. Obviously, him being more of that kind of voodoo witch doctor style. We tried a lot of poison dots and stacking poisons and detonating dots and those kind of things, and having an AoE slow. The problem is that, it created a lot of frustration around this character, so we want to kind of just simplify it down, make a character that was very fluid and very simple, and fill that support role really strongly. So it's a nice duality there.
Yeah, I didn't want to put the Affliction Warlock in Paladins, just didn't quite fit. All right, so we'll move along. Every character, for the most part, in Paladins does have a movement ability. What does Maldamba have in that territory?
This is Slither, which is his movement ability. He basically slithers forward like a snake, and he can't be targeted or hit while he's slithering.
Wow, okay, so this can be used to, almost reactively, you could do it if maybe a big Grumpy Bomb's about to go off. You can use that to immune all that sort of thing?
Even King Bomb, if there's a big beam coming, or Knessa hits. A lot of times I'll playing him, I'll bait out either a Drogo's ultimate as I dash behind him or through him, or if Knessa pops her ultimate, I'll bait the shot, dash behind a wall. So you're completely untargetable. You go through enemies while you're basically a complete ghost snake while you're moving along with this ability. So it's really great for kind of get that immune invulnerability frames for a short time and repositioning, mainly because he's a relatively easy target to hit. If you don't hit the snake, that's his only real self-defense mechanism that he has besides his ultimate. So if he's caught out, there's not a whole lot he can do. So this allows him kind of stay near the tank, sit up next to Fernando on the point, keep him healed up, and if he gets in trouble, he can reposition very quickly.
That said, he can't reposition that far. I mean, this ability only goes so far. It goes in a straight line. So if you're just in a bad spot, you're still gonna die. This won't save you.
Right.
Maldamba is honestly fairly positioning intensive, and we think that's really interesting for a character that has such powerful heals and, as you mentioned earlier, has a very powerful ultimate.
So with that, I guess we can go ahead and get into the ultimate here. Alyssa, why don't you tell us a little bit about this one, because it's pretty freaking cool.
Dread Serpent, it's a pretty crazy ultimate. So basically he shoots out a ball of energy, and when it deploys, you see this giant snake that's summoned, and he fears any enemies in the area, and any new enemies that come into the area are also feared, but they can only be feared once.
Wow, so if this guy didn't have enough area denial as it was here, that is a really, really big radius there.
Yeah, the final piece on that too is number one, obviously, he'll shoot it out. It's a projectile, so you'll hear a nice activation sound. You'll see him yell out his ultimate line. You'll hear the projectile traveling, and you'll hear the projectile explode. So there's a lot of tells and a lot of wind-up before it happens. You'll know it's coming. When it deploys, it instantly fears everyone in the area, like you mentioned, Alyssa. And then it'll linger around, and anyone that runs into it will also get feared if they haven't been feared before. But on top of this, which is why it's such a great teamfight ultimate for Maldamba, and why we think it's okay that he's a lower mobility support or can sit on the point, it actually applies a damage amp to everybody that's affected as well. Wow. So if there's a tank on the point, you just can't get off the point. He's behind his shield. You can run up, throw this projectile. It'll deploy, fear that tank away from the shield, and they'll take 20% more damage while they're being feared. So your teammates can just jump on him and burst him. And this also works really well with his snake. So if you happen to have a really good positioning with the where you are, where they are, you fear them in towards a wall because it's all directional away from the center of the fear, and then you hit him with a snake to follow up with the stun, and your teammates can usually take him out. It's a very combo based, but again, because he's so kind of squishy in his own right, if you catch him out, it can be very hit or miss.
Okay, so this is kind of reminding me almost Fear No Evil, like Hunbatsy sort of thing. So you say it does not reapply.
That's right.
When will the duration, if you hit somebody and force them into a wall, when will the duration kind of fall off for the fear?
It's going to have the same duration.
Okay.
So whatever the base duration is, maybe 2 seconds. Yeah. So 2 second duration, they're just going to run in a straight line away from the center based on where they're positioned when it explodes for 2 seconds.
Awesome.
And they won't get feared more than once. It doesn't reapply. It's just you get feared, you run for 2 seconds, and then that's it. It's over unless you die or you get snaked.
Yeah, Justin, let's see that big shadow snake there one more time there. I want to see that that ultimate animation pop up. Look up in the sky for us so we can see that big bad boy. Ooh.
Yeah.
And he's persistent the whole time. So that very clearly indicates a fear. Don't come in here. And this will drop things like Fernando shields, Makoa shields. This will go through the shields and fear them. And wow.
If they walk into it with the shield, yeah, the projectile itself won't travel through them. And then obviously if his shield's there, but if you walk into it holding your shield up, it will fear you.
Wow. So this is the point buster right here.
That's right.
Yeah, it can really blow out a point, but I mean he's a squishy snake man, so he's got to get there to get this big ultimate off. Now in a position like this where you've got a rooftop, that's a little easier.
That's ideal. Plus he's got his hit scan heal, so he can operate from any range. Really, he can be effective.
That's right. He's pretty good with verticality if he's able to get the high ground, but he doesn't have any vertical movement. So when he's fighting up, he has a little bit more trouble.
Makoa's fear animation there.
Goes into shell.
Let's see that one more time there, Justin. I want to see Makoa.
He's a very scared little shark.
He ran away.
He goes into his turtle.
He's scared.
Oh man! So how about we hear some of his voice lines here? Let's bring up this this voice pack.
hi-rez. Who's a good girl? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Attack! You cannot hope to stand against what I am. My snake likes you. Marcia! Bear witness to the spirits chosen. You should hear Recono's jokes. They're riotous. Attack the objective.
Awesome. So I want to talk.
Wait, I have a request. Can we get
What's
a
that?
VVGO? It's my favorite.
Justin, hit us with the VVGO real quick. Oops.
Oh dear.
So talk to me a little bit about
Oh,
the
dear.
process for designing the voice pack, maybe picking the actors.
Yeah, so I worked on the voice pack for this guy, which was a lot of fun. And for me, I look at the concept for the character, and I try to think, what would this person sound like?
Sure.
And it's not really until I can hear him in my head that I really know what I'm looking for. And then we go out, we get a bunch of auditions, we choose a voice actor, and I'm really looking for the Maldamba I hear in my head to come through in these auditions. And this is basically what I imagine.
Sure.
I think he's got a really interesting, like, hint of an accent. He's he's a very weird, creepy snake voodoo
Caribbean
priest dude.
It's about what you'd expect.
Yeah. So do you write the voice packs, like the unique voice lines, the jokes, the taunts, that sort of thing? Do you write that after you hear the voice actor, or do you have kind of an idea in your head that you match up with the voice actor? What's
I've
sort of
already heard the voice actor, man. It's all in my head. Yeah, when I can hear the voice, I'm just able to go through and sort of bust through these with fairly easy. Some of them take a little bit more thinking, but
Sure.
I really had a good sense of what Maldamba sounded like and how he conducted himself and talked to his teammates and stuff.
You guys ever run into a roadblock where you're not getting the right audition, you're not getting the right voice actor, or was Maldamba kind of a clear winner?
This guy was a clear winner.
Yeah.
It happens a lot, though, and a lot of times, too, when you're trying to do something with a specific accent or some kind of cultural reference, trying to find the right note there with the actor was tough. I can tell you with Bomb King, Bomb King was probably one of the more challenging ones, mainly because, when I was doing Bomb King, it ended up being wanted that really goofy, fun-loving, kind of jovial king.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious. I made almost all, we had probably about 35 voice actors. I made them all do their best. Ha-ha! And I wanted to find the best one. And then when we finally got him, when the voice session started, I made him do it about 15 or 20 times in the beginning. So we just really get that ha-ha down. Because it's so important to the jovial king, right? If you can't ha-ha, then it's not going to be Bomb King. So it really depends on what the character is.
Yeah, so seeing his 3D model there. So a voice pack, I don't know, to me, like that almost, especially as we start getting more epic and maybe even legendary skins and paladins, the voice pack is like what can make or break a skin, in my opinion. One of the ones that comes to my head is Dread Queen Serpent from Smite. It's not the coolest or the flashiest skin in Smite, but just that voice pack is so, yeah, it's pretty badass. But like, it's so visceral that like her anger and all that stuff, like that can make the skin for me. You got Archon Thanatos, which is like visually it's amazing, but the voice packs are really kind of what can honestly make or break skins for me. So that's going to be Maldamba for the most part here. But we do have some community questions from Alyssa. She's gathered some. She's our community representative there, picking some of those out for us today.
Yes, we reached out to the community just to ask if there were any questions y'all had for the developers. We got a bunch of responses on Reddit and Twitter, so we picked out some of those to ask the developers that we have today. So number one, is the team currently working on any new champions right now?
Yes, and we can prove it.
Yeah, so the process for champions is pretty deep, right? A lot of times
Yeah.
we'll have usually anywhere from 2 to 3, sometimes 4 in the pipeline. The process can be very extended depending on where in the pipeline you're looking, right? A champion probably from start to finish can take upwards of 3 to 4 months, right? Because we start with an idea, the art team goes to work on creating something that's really visually interesting and exciting and has that kind of intrigue there.
Yeah.
And then we start wrapping the design around it and working with the art to create it. And a lot of times they'll go concept, I don't like that, go ahead and just kind of throwing that, the old proverbial of taking the paper and balling it up and throwing it away. The art team does a very extensive process. They do mood boards and what kind of personality does this character have? Is it female? Is it male? We also look at our game and see what's missing. Like, do we have a young male? Do we have a giant turtle? Because all games need that, right?
Yeah.
And so we kind of try to pick it out as we go along. But yeah, I mean, at any given time, there's at least 2 to 4 champions being worked out in different stages. And as they come closer and closer, they start to come out.
Awesome. Will there be any more promos like the TF2 Barrack skin?
Yeah. We're always open to it, right? It's one of those things that just has to work out between the two groups, and the timing has to be right, all those things. We were very excited about the TF2 one. Obviously, a lot of people at the studio have played TF2 before, fans of TF2, and our friends at Valve really gave us the opportunity to kind of make that connection. We also felt since the games are similar enough, they're kind of in the same gameplay style, and we had an engineer, that it was a great opportunity.
Yeah, it was almost like a nodding, like a pass of the torch kind of thing from Valve to us.
Same voice actor,
Grandpa
too.
to grandson.
Grant Goodeve.
Was that really the same voice actor?
Yeah,
Same
so
guy.
Grant
It's
Goodeve,
awesome.
who did all the spy movies in the 90s, all that stuff, he did the voice for the engineer, and I got the opportunity to go into one of our downtown kind of studios, recording studios, work with him. And it's one of those cases where, the engineer isn't Grant Goodeve, it's Grant Goodeve is the engineer, right? So, like, literally within 5 seconds of him picking up the lines that we wrote for him, it was just like, oh my God, that's the engineer. Erecting a sentry here. Like, my God, it's just so perfect, right? So it's just a great opportunity.
That's how old is that guy?
He is the new
like
young
a grandpa.
Yeah, he's got some age, but he's
Awesome.
All right, players wanted to know if they will ever be able to swap champions mid-game.
No.
All right.
No, that just kind of goes back to that's what the item system is in place for. It's for those in-game counters there, so you can't just like swap comps on the fly. It's more learning the item system and kind of getting involved in that.
There are benefits to both systems, and I can tell you we lost a lot of sleep in the early stages of the project throughout the whole pipeline. Should we switch? Should we not? What are the benefits? What are the pros? What are the cons? We ultimately settled on not swapping for several reasons. One, we feel there's a lot more clarity in gameplay, right? When characters are swapping constantly, it's hard to keep track of what's going on.
Yeah.
And then in that style, which works great, TF2, Overwatch, some of these other games that have it, works great. It's more about choosing the right character for the situation rather than choosing the right itemization and loadout for the situation. And we felt that having that consistent character choice could help the game be more competitive at a ranked level, but also allow you the options to change during a match to the items in the cards and during the loadouts to make sure that you still have that counter option, but you're not locked in and you still have the consistency.
Gotcha.
All right, Drunk Scottish wanted to know, to celebrate Halloween, is it possible to create a pumpkin-themed shell for Makoa? That would be spooky.
That would be spooky.
Should definitely do something.
I like pumpkins.
And we are doing something for Halloween.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet. It's very. We have some Halloween content coming.
Nice.
It's something that we're very excited about, and we hope you guys like it too.
All right. Will there be an option to enable toggle aim instead of holding it?
So I think this question is really talking about like a character like Victor or Kinessa, where you can just press right click to aim down the sights and stay in that state, which I think speaks to character specific options, and that's totally something we want to do.
Definitely.
So it is coming. It's just not here yet, and we're gonna try and get it in so we can do that. Because personally, like,
Yeah, is that
I
something
prefer
you
to toggle my
would you
aim,
use something like that personally?
I don't like holding down right mouse button.
What about you, Rory? That's your kind of thing too?
It depends. I like it on Kinessa, but I don't like it on Victor.
Yeah.
That's
So
weird.
it's per character.
I don't know. I feel like I jump scope with Kinessa so much to move around. It's just like so, I don't know.
Yeah, I
never
like
actu-
having it a hold just because I got used to the
Yeah.
op or whatever else.
I'd
Yeah.
actually probably hold for Kinessa, and then if we had like a bolt action sniper, I'd probably do the toggle.
the
for that
toggle,
character,
yeah.
All right, can we get customizable crosshairs, not just different colors?
Yes, I myself am a dot crosshair player,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
we
I
don't
am as
have
well.
a dot crosshair, and it drives me crazy.
Yep. And
So-
I can beat him in playtest because he doesn't have the right crosshair.
It's
great.
just down to the dot, man.
Yep.
Not F dot, because that doesn't make as much of a difference. But this dot does. So we definitely want to add it. It's on our list for sure. We're hoping we get it as soon as we can. It's a big gripe for me, so I'm probably the loudest voice inside the
He
studio
is.
about it
He yells every day.
every day.
Every day's a struggle.
All right, will special events be added for the weekend, similar to what Smite does?
Yeah, so it's definitely, it's a big part of kind of keeping the community excited and getting those bonuses there. We definitely want to do it. And right now with the early stage of the open beta, we have a lot of things we're working on. It's on I hate to say this, it's on the list too, but we want to do it really badly. As soon as we can get it in, we can. We'll start probably with smaller things that kind of get it in there and then start building upon that from there on. But absolutely.
All right, will there be clans in the future?
Clans. We definitely are looking at clans right now. Nothing confirmed or anything. Obviously, more social systems and more ways to group with friends. As we're working out how that fits into Paladins, we will kind of look at clans and see how there is. But currently, we're not actively working on it, but it's something that we're looking at.
All right, can you give us any hints about the next champion or map style?
Oh.
Well, we are working on future champions, and
There
we're
will
also working on
be
future maps.
more
They will
champions.
exist. I can say I've actually already started work on the next champion's voice pack, which has been a lot of fun. But I'm gonna leave it to Rory to give us any more because he's my boss.
This next one coming up after Maldamba is probably one of my favorite gameplay styles
Definitely.
in FPS. Personally, I like sniping a lot. It's one of my favorite plays, but sometimes when you get stuck with the sniper rifle, you want something different. So I can't say that the upcoming champion will have the ability to have a real solid kind of physical arrow to shoot and be able
Sure.
to take targets out from long range. And I'm pretty excited about it.
Awesome.
All right, what character archetypes are you experimenting with or that you would like to experiment with in the future?
Character archetypes as in play styles or okay. So play styles, that's a really dangerous question to ask a designer.
Yes.
Very dangerous.
All of
Because
them.
all of them
Yeah,
is the short
definitely.
answer.
So I think another way to approach this question is we currently have 4 archetypes in the game in our flank, in our support, and our damage, and our front line. And I think part of expanding our roster is having characters that do a little bit of shifting. So
Yeah.
Maldamba is a great example of this because he is a support. He has 2 heals.
Right.
But he's also got area denial, which is
Huge
more
area
what
denial.
Drogas and Bomb King do. And that sort of interesting shifting is one of the great ways to experiment with these new styles where we're still in a relatively low number of champions compared to like Smite, for example. So we can get the core characters in, but have them be a little bit more interesting. And then, maybe in
Awesome.
4 years we'll start adding crazy
Yeah.
space dragons or
yeah,
something.
like maybe one day in the future we'll make a weapon that's a snake or something. Wouldn't that be weird?
What if we had a gun that shoots
Ridiculous.
sharks?
I'm down with that.
Yep.
And as you mentioned, I think it's really important to note that, when you have games that are built on rules like Paladins, we want to make sure that you're not, it's not very one-dimensional, right? I pick this tank, I pick that. So
Yeah.
a lot of what we try to do is we make new champions. If you look at the meta now and what is kind of predominant and what can we create with the next few champions to make sure that there's diversity there, but also you can give different fulcrums for
Yeah.
your team composition, right? Let's say you want a support that has the ability to break up big groups. That's what the goal from Maldamba
Yeah,
was,
exactly
right?
what we needed.
Right now, you have a lot of groups of Groks and Fernandos and Barracks stacking up at the point with a bunch of shields, and we're saying, okay, if that's the meta right now, what can we create that allows players to build a different comp that could work against that or with it in a way that makes the team composition building more interesting? So Maldamba was an answer to that. We said we want a support that can be a little bit more kind of shifty in the back of the fight. Doesn't really have to be directly on top of someone to heal them, right? When you have Pip or Grok,
Yeah.
if your Drogoz is in trouble across the way, there's nothing I can do to help you, right? Where Maldamba's like, okay, there's
Yeah.
Drogoz flying by, I'm gonna snipe him with my heal, keep him alive, go back to the fight, and allows him to be a little more malleable there. But also with the ultimate, it means that if you're doing the death ball comp, he's just going to fear you out of it, give you damage
Yeah.
up, and blow your whole team up. And so having that means that you have more options in the support role, which opens up the other roles as you switch that up. So that's always one of our big goals.
One of the other big things that Maldama brings is he's a support character that has a fairly high aim requirement. I mean,
For sure.
the projectile for his alt fire, the enveloping spirits, is a little forgiving.
Yeah.
You still have to hit your teammates, and if you've got an Eevee on your team
Right.
that's doing loop-de-loops, and you can heal him while they're doing that, that's a
It's
great
huge.
play. That can potentially win a game.
Yeah, he's really the only healer that can reach those far distance targets.
Yeah,
Everyone, like
totally.
you were mentioning, has to be kind of closer in the fight. He can do it from a safer distance.
All right, so this has been a very hot topic in the community. What do you think about Skye in the current meta, and will she be changed in the upcoming patches?
We are making an adjustment to Skye. It's interesting with her. We try to separate out. Is it something that, is it her output that's the issue?
Yeah.
Is it the fact that you don't always know she's there? Do we have to improve feedback when she comes out of stealth or when she's moving around? Is she harder to counter? Maybe she has too much health, or maybe she gets away too quickly. The biggest point of contention that we saw from the community and the community team bring up a lot of the issues on the Reddit and the forums and all that was mostly around her ultimate and its impact on a fight and what she can do with that. So the first change we're making this patch is we're going to be adding some damage fall off to that ult. We like the range being what it is, considering the fact that you can break it with line of sight. So
Right.
we don't want to make it so we flip it on its head and all of a sudden Skye's ultimate doesn't do anything for her. So we make sure we maintain that lethality for her, but make it so that there's always something you can do. So since it breaks on line of sight, we feel like that's a good counter. But also since it was doing full damage the whole way, we felt like it didn't. If you couldn't find anything to break the line of sight, it
Yeah.
felt like it was just frivolous, right? We never want a point where you don't have any options. We want to make sure no matter what situation you're in, you always have at least some option, even if they're not always the best. So with the damage fall off, it means that the further you are from the center of the explosion, you will take less damage, which means running away, even if there's no line of sight breaks, is still going to be a good counter to that, because then eventually it will do so little damage that it won't kill you.
Yeah.
So we hope that
Yeah.
that helps blend that together.
And we've also made some changes to improve the feedback around that ultimate, and specifically the icon on your screen will now flash.
And it gets bigger. It's
Yeah.
much bigger. It'll change colors, turn red and move, so you know when that bomb is there. And also when it turns yellow and shrinks, you know that you're no longer in danger of that bomb.
The whole nerf Skye thing, it's kind of an interesting point for me because she's not really picked up very much in competitive play. She's not something that's super dangerous to me in my eyes. But talk to me. You talked to me about this a little bit. The whole philosophy of kind of a stealth character, how it's just kind of it's harder for people to deal with and wrap their head around it. Even if her numbers aren't super crazy, it's just that whole kind of mechanic of the stealth.
Yeah, a lot of times, when we try to balance characters in all of our games, specifically our PvP games, the biggest thing is you have to make sure that you're hitting all the pillars, right? And for us, a lot of it is community. What does it feel like? What does the general player base think of it? You have perception,
Yeah.
what is it like to play against the character? And then you have competitive feedback
Right.
there. So what do the pros think of it? And then finally, it's the hard numbers. So we look at the win rates, the damage dealt, the deaths, how they perform
Sure.
overall, how much credits are they getting? What does the community think? What does it feel like to play against them? And also, is she being picked up in team comps right now in competitive? Or
That's
is she being
right.
winning in teams? And we look at that across the way, and we feel like that's a very balanced way to look at it. And so it's a little bit harder with stealth characters, right? Because sometimes they can be very binary.
Yeah.
If you're paying attention and you hear the stealth mechanic, or you buy Illuminate, or you have some kind of reveal, Skye can't really do much to you. But if
Yeah.
you don't have those things, then she can be very strong. So it's really just balancing
Okay.
the combination of feedback versus damage.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and throw it to one last question. I want to hear both of your thoughts on this. What are your thoughts on keeping the meta fresh in the competitive scene through champ rebalancing and reworks? And I think for me more specifically, when would you make a new character like Maldama is great at area denial versus reworking someone who's maybe not in the meta there to just get them to fill that role?
So part of it is right now we're just trying to get a lot of new champions
Right.
because new champions are awesome, and when I play Paladins, I want to have more options.
Gotcha.
So filling those holes is really cool, and part of it is looking at what the competitive players are doing and saying, okay, we're every so often repeatedly seeing the strategy of grouping up, deathballing
Yep.
on the point. So what is the answer to that? Well, a lot of competitive players had said Drogas because of detonating the fire spit,
Sure.
spreading everyone out, or using your ultimate to kill Fernando
Okay.
and sort of kill that linchpin of the comp.
Awesome.
And so Maldama is another way to do that, because really the primary answer was Drogos. Now, when we're looking at drafting in competitive play and in both the competitive queue
Yeah.
and in tournaments and stuff, maybe that'll change it, and we'll see what's happening and see are there any holes and stuff that needs to be filled by a new champion, or potentially a rework if someone is having significant problems.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for us today on the Patch Notes Show. All of this stuff will be moved to that full PTS cycle at a later date here, so you will have the chance to kind of play through that before it goes live and give some additional feedback on this stuff. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thanks my designers, Kret, Alyssa, and Rory there for hanging out, and we'll see you next time.